Hello everyone, my name is Danielle Mingo. I attend Aspen University, majoring in educational leadership for my doctoral degree. This is my first year at Aspen and my second course, which is entitled Doctoral Writing: An Inquiry into Research, Chapter 7, Procedure for Conducting an Experiment. The goals of conducting research. After completing this module, I will be able to do the following. Describe methods for designing and conducting a successful research study. Assess a research proposal and explain the requirements for required institutional approvals. Document research activities, results, and conclusions. In this video, I will provide an overview of institutional approval and issues concerning human and animal participants that every researcher should know. I will provide the benefits of pilot studies, the necessity of gaining consent from research participants, the methods for data collection concerning human participants, and lastly, I will describe how to choose a sample size, research instruments, and methods for outlining proper research procedure. Are you ready? Here we go. And conducting a study that uses humans as research, you must seek approval from the Institutional Review Board, known as the IRB. Rather interviewing people about what kind of shoes they prefer or what brand, how they feel or think, approval consent must be given by the participant. Most recruitment strategies for human participants are conducted at colleges and universities, those in psychology courses. Institutional Review Board is an independent committee that is established to review, approve research, and to protect the rights of humans with written consent. What should be reviewed by the IRB? Surveys, interviews, focus groups, observational research. Also, evaluation research is reviewed by the IRB. Oral history, that's for the risk of harm or loss of privacy. Research on existing data or records. Thesis and essay research, just to name a few. Reviews are then conducted by the IRB to ensure that humans will be treated appropriately. Protocols are put into place to ensure written consent for participation in the studies for humans. Research studies must be evaluated in their entirety, line by line. No one should participate in research without giving voluntary, informed consent. The IRB committee has difficult decisions to make, especially when harm may be caused to the human, such as experimental drug, which can cause physical, mental, and emotional harm. When the IRB refuses to approve a study, several things will and can happen. Number one, the researcher must redesign the study to overcome the objections of the IRB. Number two, or supply additional information that would change the minds or overcome the objections of the IRB. And number three, or not conduct the study at all. Now let's look at the animal participants. As research participants, if you are conducting a study on animals, you must have approval from the Institute Animal Care and Use Committee, known as the IACUC. The IACUC started in 1996, ensuring the responsibility of animal use and research, and how IACUC must evaluate institutions and facilities for activities that involve animals. The IACUC review animal welfare concerns, make recommendations, and inspect semi-annually the regulation of these facilities. It also consists of 5 members, which includes 1 veterinarian experienced in laboratory animal science, 1 practicing scientist, 1 member in a non-scientific area such as a lawyer or clergy, 1 member that is non-affiliated with IACUC. Both IRB and IACUC approval is the most important step to accomplish in order to conduct research, whether experimental or non-experimental. If not, this can cause researchers or investigators, along with their institution, to be reprimanded severely and rejection of future funding projects. Review can take up to a month or longer to complete. The methods for the data collection. Method of data collection is known as technique for physically obtaining the data to be analyzed in a research study. The pilot study benefits. The pilot study is an experiment that is conducted on a few participants prior to the actual collection of data. The pilot study indicates whether the variable is independent, can produce the intended effect. In our book, Research Methods, Designs, and Analysis, on page 265, it gives us an example. If you are trying to induce the emotion of surprise, debriefing can help to determine if fear, surprise, or some other state was actually generated. With the pilot study, it gives the researcher experience with the procedure with practice in which the researcher will develop fluency in carrying out the proper steps. The procedure is tested during the pilot study. Sometimes too much information or too much time is allowed for certain parts and not enough for others due to the information being inadequate or problems that need to be corrected, such as malfunction. If changes are made, then the IRB must approve the intended changes. They cannot go on unless they are approved. The sample size. In selecting a sample size, you must determine the population of the participants, such as how many are needed in order to test the hypothesis, depending on the design, variability of the data, and statistical procedure that is to be used. Also, a sample size. In a single case, only 1 sample is needed. Sample size is needed. In a multi-participant design, a number of participants are needed. It is better to have more than 2 participants, but unnecessary to use too many participants. And at sample size, you are able to test the hypothesis accurately, with the decision being based on the design of study, variability of data, and statistical procedure. The research instruments. Research instruments are used in addition to securing the appropriate number of participants that are included in the research. Some studies require the presentation and manipulation of the independent variable requires the active participation of the investigator, and the measurement of the dependent variable involves the administrators of a variety of psychological assessment instruments. This is also to obtain appropriate results. Examples: microcomputers used frequently in experimental studies, and also brainwaves. No matter what the field of study or preference in defining data, whether it is quantitative or qualitative, accurate data collection is essential to maintaining the integrity of the research. Whenever there is improper collection of data, it can produce the following: inability to answer research questions accurately, the inability to repeat and validate the study, distorted findings resulting in wasted resources, harm to human participants and animals, and also investigation and violation of protocol. The proper procedures and overall summary of this chapter. Upon designing a study, investigators must make decisions before collecting data. The most important decision is that it must be presented to the board for review. Investigators must decide the type of organism to be studied, which would be the best to research. Whatever is best for investigating the research problem, then that's what should be used. Number 4 is the source of participants and where they are going to come from. What's available? What sources are available? Sometimes the source is the internet. The next one is how many participants should be used, which is the sample size. Next is the instructions are then prepared and clear for understanding the purpose that is required. Next is the procedure that is used to collect the data. How is it going to be carried out? The next study is when the participant arrives at the experimental site, the participant is read the rights of the experiment and a consent is given and explained. All the procedures are explained. This is known as the post-experimental interview or debriefing session. Lastly, a pilot study is helpful to iron out unforeseen difficulties. I hope that you enjoyed this video on procedures for conducting an experiment. All the resources that I have used has been taken from the textbook entitled Research Methods, Design and Analysis, the 12th edition by Pearson. The authors are Larry Christian, R. Johnson, and also Lisa Turner. Thank you all for watching.